Welcome to Solutions from the Yard, a candid discussion about life behind bars and its effect on society. We'll discuss reintegration or re-entry back into the community post-incarceration. Your host for this episode is Charles Hopkins.
Welcome to this edition of Solutions from the Yard. I'm Charles Hopkins.
And I'm Michael Dickerson-El.
And I'm Dietrich Trent.
Today, we're going to continue a conversation that our comrade Dietrich brought up, dealing with the current state of D.C. politics as relates to the criminal injustice system. And we talked about some of the changes that the mayor is proposed around getting control over what they deem to be crime run amok. It's all in the name of public safety. But this topic is called Juvenile Delinquent. Who is delinquent? And in this regard, I'm going to start by outlining some things that between 1994-5, 2019, the Justice Department did a study on juvenile delinquency in the District of Columbia. Some of the contributing factors that they observed. I want to outline some of these things, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay, first indicator says that percentage of families with children headed by a single parent. This is in the District of Columbia, 95, but the statistic is probably high. And they comparing it towards the nation. They're saying 57% of the D.C. households are single parents, and nationwide it's 28%. Rate of teen deaths by accident, homicide, and suicide. Death per 100,000 teens ages 15 to 19. In D.C., 33%. We know that hasn't changed since then. And 22% in the nation. Percentage of teens who are high school dropouts. Teens ages between 16 and 19. 11% in the district and 9% nationwide. Percentage of teens not attending school and not working. Teens aged 16 and 19, 14% the District of Columbia, 8% nationwide. Percentage of children living in families where no parent has full-time year-round employment, 40% District of Columbia, 25% nationwide. Percentage of children in poverty, 26% in the District of Columbia, 16% nationwide. So in the social context, we recognizing that it's a lot of social factors going into why we find our children in the state they're in. So let's just start with this here. And this in your wheelhouse, DJ, because we talking about the juvenile services there, and we talking about the joint. We talking about the juvenile joint. All right, they said that one little girl that was charged with carjacking, they said that she was out on the box, and then they try to blame the judge for saying that the reason why she was able to do what she did because the judge didn't lock up. The judge in turn said that the reason why I didn't put her in no detention center is because the conditions in the detention center. One, they didn't have no mattresses for the children to sleep on. They ain't had no program services. They ain't have no case manager system. They ain't had no wraparound services system. Talk about that from your knowledge.
One of the biggest things that everybody's overlooking is how did she get involved with the juvenile system first and foremost, right?
Come on.
The fact that, she was released and came back out here and got and whatever crime supposed to have been committed. But my thing is, the whole fact is, out here in society, and I only can speak for my city, which is the District of Columbia, there's not too much there's to do for our youth out here. My point is, why do she got to go to DYRS or YSC for services?
Right.
Why do I got to be put in handcuffs for services?
Come on, talk about that.
Services that should be should be available and accessible before the criminal system. If we truly about uplifting it and empowering our youth, let's speak on it. You know what I'm saying? Because why is it ain't services there prior to the criminal activity journey? Where's the prevention at before all that? See, I don't care about all the charges and who let who out and who why. Man, I don't care about none of that. When she got back out here to society, y'all didn't have any services for her, but you want to put her back in to have services. This kind of, come on.
So who would be delinquent in that analysis?
Man, that goes so far back because there's so many things that's racial systematically.
Come on.
That's been put in place.
Right.
From all the statistics that you just read.
Right.
I could go through a couple of them that's true.
Right.
Speaking on the educational side, because I was working, DC was one of the highest dropout rate when it comes to kids between the age of 16 to 24 years old.
Right.
We led the nation in that. That's why there was programs like the DC Reengagement Center that was established in like in 2014, 15. They was established to address the needs of our dropout rates. Right. To get these kids back in school and get them back getting education. And also the other one was about kids not going to school.
Mm-hmm.
Not
truancy.
The truancy thing, right? One of the biggest things too. That was one we was leading in the truancy rating and all through. All that stuff go hand in hand.
But let me ask you this here.
What?
And before I get the mic. Okay, but who?
I'm about to tell you who.
Yeah, I want to know because I always want to know: do people got money? Is the money being allocated for the people to deal with the truancy?
Yes, it's money. This money is given, and a lot of the money is given to. They took a lot of the resource officers out of the schools.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
So that was some of the resource officers' jobs in the schools. You know, they didn't call them police officers; they called them resource officers. Mm-hmm. Because they was there for resources, not to police the schools. They was there for resources. They're gone now. So that duty for truancy went out the door as well with the resource officers. So truancy is not even an issue. No, they don't even. If you don't come to school, you don't come to school.
Right. Come on.
You know what I'm saying? But who's the delinquent?
Come on.
Is the system?
Come on.
The system, because once again we keep failing them. We failing our kids at a high rate. We don't have nothing in place for them to be productive individuals.
Okay, I like that observation. And for our audience, Dietrich worked in that space. Matter of fact, I think when we first was in one of these Zoom meetings, you had the backdrop.
Yeah, I
was engagement backdrop.
So I was working for OSSI. I was working.
So
for
he know from
education
experience.
System. Yeah.
Okay, Mike, here you go. Percentage of fourth grade students scoring below basic reading level. And this is in DC, and then you got the nation. And we talking about reading. 69% of the fourth graders scoring below basic reading level. Fourth grade students who score below basic math levels. So I can't add 1 and 1. Don't know 1 and 1 is 2. But I know if you don't give me all my money, and I think what it is, it's a problem. 64%, 24%. Eighth grade students who score below basic reading level, 53%, and 28% nationwide. Now, and we know that, talk about the reading, talk about how this impact on child's ability to be able to develop a critical thinking concept, and then tell me who you think is delinquent when it comes to the education system, as these statistics outline. And you can go current if you want, if you got current knowledge of what's going on, you can do current. But we trying to identify who is the delinquent, and if we can identify who's delinquent, then we can come up with a solution for resolving that delinquency. That's what we at with this.
And you talking about based on the education.
Based on education.
I would say the one thing to me that's missing, because you mentioned about a lot of the statistics, you know, the single parent homes and stuff like that, right? You know, when I was growing up, whatever my mother couldn't help me with, you know, my father, you know, when he get home, he helped me with my homework. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that, right? I think like when it comes to education and far as the topic that we talking about just in general, when you have an imbalance like that in the household, you know what I'm saying? Because you got to have the masculine, you got to have the feminine, mm-hmm. You know, and once you have an imbalance in the household, I think right then and there, attention need to be brought on that. And this is to solution to what Dietrich was saying and to what you asking me. Because when you have a deficiency in the household, where's the money allocated to help this imbalance?
Come on.
See, my whole thing is killing everything at the root. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you know, that the welfare, okay, you just giving me some money. But what about the imbalance in the household? See, and that's the point that I'm making. Back in the day when I was growing up, they had what was called Big Brother, you know, all that little type stuff. You know, they had more mentors, more tutors. All these type things was given to children at that time to ensure that they got their education, they got their proper guidance, far as somebody to look up to if you didn't have a father. All these type things, the Boys and Girls Clubs, all that stuff was in place. So when you take away all these things, and you don't have nothing to combat that imbalance.
Come on.
Now you got what you have. You have children that don't care nothing about their own lives. They don't expect to live past 25. They don't care about whether they below the level of education, because long as I got money or I can dress well, that don't matter. You understand what I'm saying? And I think a lot of this has been lost because the money that was put into place for single parents is gone now. You know, the welfare money there, okay, give you SNAP, you know, stuff like that. But the education part is what's missing. SNAP don't got nothing to do with education.
Right.
SNAP just gonna put something in the refrigerator. That's it. But what's gonna put something that's gonna feed the child in their mind, not their stomach, but what's gonna feed the child in their mind? What's gonna help the child grow that they won't fall to be a statistic and show the inadequate of an imbalanced home? See, these the things where the money should go. The money should go to that. If you a woman that have a child, a male, female, whatever the case may be, and you a single parent, there should be money put into place whereas though somebody can be that other half. You know, whether it's some form of a guide, a big brother, a mentor, all money should be allocated to that. Because to me, no family can be totally complete if you don't have the two components that was there to supposed to make it complete. You understand what I'm saying? You know, because everybody can say, I'm a strong black woman or I'm a strong black man. I can do this by myself. But if there's a component missing, there's going to be something that's going to be inadequate. You know, no matter how strong you think you are, you know, I know I'm a strong man because the things that I went through. But I wouldn't want to raise a child by myself. You see what I'm saying? Because I know that there's something that the woman can provide that I can't. You understand what I'm saying? So therefore, man, when it comes to that portion, we need to have more money allocated to single parents. When you a single parent, when you shove SNAP and welfare in their face, shove a mentor in their face. You see what I'm saying? Shove a big brother in their face. You see what I'm saying? Instead of giving me SNAP, give me a counselor that's going to come in and say, man, I'm going to be a father figure to this child. See, things like that need to be more available for us because having single parent homes is the inevitable.
Right.
So now we got to fight something that's going to combat that inevitability.
Let me say this here. Okay, and I agree with that observation, right? And I remember like dealing with the education aspect of I knew that when I got locked up, when you get locked up, when I got locked up, they did assessment tests on you. They reading, math, critical thinking. I came in at a 5th grade reading level and a 6th grade math level. That's when I did standard tests. So basically I was a functionally illiterate. And I was reading, I could read, at least I thought I could. But with the comprehension skill, which is my point was trying to emphasize is that if you got a kid that's growing up, that you got an education system that's getting millions of dollars to provide education for the kids. And the kid at the 4th grade level don't know his ABCs. At the 6th grade level, can't read and write, don't know phonics, don't know at and bat and cat and that. And then at the 7th grade level, don't know nothing, but then graduate. Or because they put him in the basement with a special ed class, now they got complexes and they leave out and they drop out of school. Who is delinquent? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Who is delinquent in that scenario? Because this was happening with our kids. See, it was happening with our kids. They saying talking about the truancy. See, when you talk about the truancy and you talk about things that's going on in there, who getting the money to provide education? And then who getting the money to ensure that the children, if you're not in the school, you should be where you at? Who getting that money? Because you saying that the person that's running the muck is the delinquent. That's what we saying. We saying the kid running the muck is the delinquent, but yet I'm giving you in your budget, the mayor of the city, I'm putting in the school budget, I'm giving you asked for 4.5 million, I'm gonna give you like 7.5 million. I'm gonna give you 70.5 million. Handle your business. Who's delinquent, Dietrich? Or talk about it.
I don't want to put too much on the education system, right? Because that's only for so many years your child has accessibility as free education, right? So like Mike's saying, a lot of things come from our foundation education come from the home. So when we place blame so much on saying that the system is running us amok. We know what the system is. We already know what the system is. 9 out of 10, every child is born into poverty in D.C. That's already a barrier. So when I get to school, and so, a lot of these barriers run hand in hand. They cousins, not distance. They close cousins. They mean sleeping in the bed cousins, meaning if I'm living in poverty, that means I got a barrier when it comes to food as well. So when I wake up 8 o'clock in the morning, you tell me going to school, I'm hungry. I can't think. So the system, this is all part of the system. I want you to come to school hungry, can't think, can't learn, and keep going on so I can put you, when you finish, and put you straight on the conveyor belt. This is all part of the system.
Just pushing you through.
Pushing us through.
Okay, what role do poverty play? Who's responsible for the poverty state that people find themselves in?
Man, this stuff, it's been said in so many other podcasts and so many shows, radio shows and speeches and everything. It's just, we know it's a systematically, things are in place against black and brown people.
Okay,
right?
Talk about it.
We want to
find out. We're saying who's delinquent. Who's delinquent? That's the thing.
I
who's
think
delinquent?
with the education, first of all, what we putting into what we implanting inside our kids' brain nowadays is outdated. As far as the education system nowadays, it's outdated. Our United States has not evolved, and I can speak on this as a whole. United States, we haven't evolved when it comes to our education.
Mm-hmm.
We watching all the other countries evolving. They don't teach what we teach. Mm. They teaching their kids to be engineers when they come out.
Yeah. You
going to school for an engineer at sixth grade. I mean, at 6 years old. That's what you're going to be. You're going to be a scientist. We don't teach our kids like that. We teach them, learn this, it's a must you get U.S. history. What do U.S. history have to do with me making $1?
Exactly.
Or me surviving in D.C. streets. It don't have anything to do with me. I need to know what the education system need to really do a whole revamp for real. D.C. because one of the things, and I always say this, and my audience probably hear me always say this, what was wrong with them? What was wrong with our trades and apprenticeship classes back in the day? Because I know all the dudes that went to school back then, they got careers. They've been working 40, 30 years.
On barbershops and everything.
And they went to spin guns, to Dunbars, the women went to, what was the,
Chambers, yeah.
They had careers, and you was guaranteed to have a career to fall back if you couldn't go to school as far as continue education. We are failing our kids now. You wonder why they don't care about coming to school. Hey, man, come to school to what? To learn what? Ain't nothing gonna help me get $1. That's exactly. So it's delinquent. The system, we as parents, because we keep voting the same people and voting these fake chancellors in and all this other stuff, and we're not really going to the polls and really making a change because we are the people. They represent us. We pay their $1. We could tell them, hey, we need this education system revamped.
Okay, let's talk about this here then. So we know that, based on your observation, we know that the mayor of the District of Columbia, Mayor Marion Bowser, recently made a series of proposals and recommendations about changing a number of things relative to try to get control over the young people that they didn't identify as being the principal criminal element in the District of Columbia. All right, Mike, here you go. Now, who's delinquent in this situation? I'm put on a box. I'm 14 years old. I'm put on a box. They put me on a box. The agency over here across the street is responsible for tracking me with the box. The person that put me on the box signed an order saying, go to the store go around the corner and report in. The people that I supposed to report in say, now you got to go back to school and have your teacher sign this. None of this get done. Who's delinquent in that situation and why?
The system is faulty anyway. From that perspective that you're talking about, because there's no real concern about reform or prevention. Me and you always talk about this all the time. Things are set up for punishment, and that's it. The way the system is now is set up for punishment. You do this was going to happen to you. But nothing is set up for reform. Nothing set up for prevention. So therefore, the system to me was who's delinquent, because you putting all this money out just to lock somebody up, but you ain't putting no money out to help the individual that you know that's gonna fall to the side. Jesus even said that in the parable of the farmer sowing the seed. You know, some gonna fall in and grow, some gonna grow, then, you know, die off and wither off. If you know this concept and you know that a person that's growing up in poverty, growing up in single parent homes, you know that 9 times out of 10, the inevitability that they gonna fail. If you know this, you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So the system need to be more aware of, okay, we know this gonna happen. What can we do to combat this? Because we know this is going to happen. Because you hear about some success stories, people make it out of the project, single parent home, but it's rare. You see what I'm saying? It's real rare that, you know, Joe Schmo that was on food stamps back in the day was he best dressed, he was best dirty. You know, it's real rare. That's going to be, you know, these success stories is like, they rare.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? They rare in these so-called black barrios. So if these things that you know, but you allocating all this money just to lock a person up or enslave them, I mean, just keeping it 100, the system is set up to just, you know, to build a better slave and to come and round them up. That's what I see in the system. You understand what I'm saying? You allowing this condition to come on a child that's coming up hopeless. Now you have a solution, which is just to punish. You understand what I'm saying? So that's, to me, you know, I mean, it don't take a rocket scientist to know that, because I ain't a rocket scientist.
Okay, so we know that, right? You ain't built a jet yet, but you got jet-like intellect. Dietrich, is this premeditated? Mike just look. Mike just outlined in a scientific analysis. Yeah. Or is this a conspiracy theory? Are we in the conspiracy theory?
That you say like it's premeditated, and I'm about to say yes. And because getting back to, why would I educate you to overcome all these barriers I put systematic in place in front of you?
Come on,
that would make me an idiot.
What? The mayor? You saying the mayor? Government?
I'm saying once again, this is the system. We talk about the system, right?
That's right.
That's in place.
Because we know one person.
We know. The system, you can't see the system. So let's get that out our minds. We can't see the system, but we know it's in place for those that it affect. Why would I educate you to overcome these barriers when your failures is my dollars in my pocket? I'm gonna show you the funny thing about and all you hear is about the youth is bad. We got a lot of youth in this city that's doing damn good.
Real good.
We got a lot of damn youth that's doing. I'm tired of because it's a lot of our youth in our city that's doing damn good.
That's right.
Right, and I think they need to be applauded about. But the thing about it, that run out because there's no resources in place for them to continue that improvement in life. Because why? I do all this good, I come right back to poverty. I do all this good, I can't get a job that's gonna pay me to get me out of this poverty. So there's things in place. We don't have we don't put nothing in place. Like Mike said earlier in the show, there's nothing in place to help us get out of this. Well, you know, there's certain things, like you said, you mean certain people get out of it, and it is. But we're talking about there should be something systematically in place for our youth.
Okay.
For better improvement, for community improvement, and just improve family, everything in place for them to be successful. They should have that. That should be granted to them through the system. When you get this certain age, you get this amount of money because you. And you are doing good at school, you should get this. Because I know you don't have this because you're lacking in something that you didn't have anything to do with.
There you have it. Solutions from the yard. We're looking at a situation where today we actually trying to identify who is delinquent, because we always hear like about juvenile delinquency. So today we're unpacking who is delinquent as we outline a series of scenarios and events. We recognize about poverty. Is the person that's living in a poverty situation the delinquent, or is it the person that's in charge of housing and providing quality living in the project? You don't paint my house. You sell me a refrigerator that the government's giving me, or you got me in an environment where you don't cut my grass, and you got me living in this environment, but yet you get money to maintain these dwellings, and then you don't use the money to maintain the dwellings. And then when my kid come out and you say, oh, he a carjacker or he a delinquent. You make him the delinquent. But who is the delinquent? The person that took and misappropriated the money and pocketed? Or is he a delinquent or is he a criminal? We'll be right back with Solutions from the Yard. Thank you.
Voices for a Second Chance is a comprehensive reentry program that provides culturally appropriate, trauma-informed, gender-specific, and peer-based services. Voices for a Second Chance bridges the gap from incarceration to community for tens of thousands of men and women in the District of Columbia. Our goal is for our clients to achieve a state of well-being and care as they transition from incarceration to community. You can help us continue our mission. For more information or to provide financial support, go to info@vscdc.org or visit www.vscdc.org. You've been listening to Solutions from the Yard. This podcast is presented by Voices for a Second Chance, a comprehensive reentry program that provides culturally appropriate, trauma-informed, gender-specific, and peer-based services. For more information, go to info@vscdc.org or visit our website at www.vscdc.org.